This is the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Let's go nuts! It's Jimmy Nuts! Drive out with a car!
With your hosts, Mark Martinez.
Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things.
And the English Professor.
It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.
Hey, this is former WWE superstar Duke, the Dumpster Drosy, and you are listening to the Can Crushers Podcast.
And welcome back to another Can Crusher Spotlight. I am your host, Mark Martinez, and we are strictly business today. No dicking around at all. Strictly business with this spotlight. We have to stay on point. Strictly business. Guys, if you haven't caught on, or you didn't look at the thumbnail, of course, my guest this week is part of Strictly Business from the NWA, Mr. Royce Isaacs, a former NWA champion. They made it to the finals of last year's Crockett Cup. Him and Thomas Latimer, the wild cards. I am so excited to talk to Royce about wrestling in general. This guy is still young in the business, but he's been all over the place. I can't wait to hear the stories. Guys, I'm going to ruin it already. He's been to Japan. I need to ask him the questions about Japan right now. I really do. But, of course, as always, before we get into the interview, we have to hear from Al Snow. Guys, collar and elbow, I have my everyday collar and elbow shirt on right now because it's so comfortable. Just the CXE property of collar and elbow. You can get those. You can get the Macho Man one. You can get a ton of them. The Blue Meanie has his out there right now. These are great shirts. Hats, hoodies, tees, all of them are out there. Head over to collarandelbow.com. And when you check out, use promo code Can Crushers. Capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers, and you'll get that extra 10% off. So, yeah. All right. Right after we hear from Al, we'll dive in with Mr. Royce Isaacs.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers, guys. I just need to get into this conversation. I reached out to him earlier in the week, and he was excited. He doesn't know what he's into. My guest this week, some people know him by Rolls. I know him by Big Bad Deadlift Daddy. It's Mr. Royce Isaacs. Royce, how are you doing tonight?
Dude, I'm pretty good. I can't complain. I'm doing the quarantine thing. I'm with y'all. I'm at home. I'm bored. I'm locked up. I'm watching the most Netflix possible every night. I'm actually on Amazon Prime right now because I'm 300 years late on this, but I'm finally watching The Wire. It's an amazing show. I'm already so into it. Everyone out there is like, wow, that show came out like 10 years ago, but whatever. Amazing.
I remember some of it. That's how much I do. I did watch it. I remember bits and pieces of it. It's good. I don't want to ruin anything for you. Well, you brought it up, so I need to ask. You watched the whole thing of Tiger King, right? This has been my obsession during quarantine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The only reason I didn't even bring that up was because I feel like at this point it's almost played out, like everyone's seen it. But I guess there probably are still some people that have it. I mean, yeah, like definitely just watch all of that all the way through, just to be like partly just to be like in on the joke because everyone's watched it, so everyone's posting the memes and they are funny, and the show's good. Like I'll put it this way: there's a lot of those. I love like true crime documentaries, so I watch a lot of similar documentaries to the Tiger King that like maybe weren't quite as that didn't blow up as much. And a lot of them are also 7-part series, but they feel like way, like, you know, you're like, oh, dude, like that could have been done in like 3 episodes and actually been more, you know, enjoyable, like The Staircase or whatever. You know, you're like, oh, like, yeah, it's interesting, but probably not like 7 episodes, like 7 hours. But like Tiger King, legitimately, it's like just keeps topping itself. It's almost like, to me, like the documentary equivalent of like the first time you saw like the first Hangover, where like it's just like keeps being like, you're just like, how does this just keep getting more ridiculous like as they go along? Like you would think, like I feel like every episode of Tiger King, I'd be like, well, that's definitely the most ridiculous thing that I'm going to see, and then it would be like immediately topped.
I agree. So I have to ask you, and then we'll move along from Tiger King. Still, we're not beating it like a dead horse. Do you think Carol did it?
Oh, absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
Okay. Good enough. Good enough. Before we get into wrestling in your early career, I want to ask you to brag about something you've done in the last 30 days. Now, you haven't wrestled. You can't go to the gym. Maybe what have you done that you can say, this is what I did in the last 30 days besides watching Netflix?
I've been really, really consistent on my diet and really, really consistent on my home gym stuff. Which is good because like my goal here is to hit the ground running whenever things are opened back up. I know wrestling will probably take a little bit longer since it's like a contact sport and there's, you know, like you can't have like a big audience for a while, I would imagine. And it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's an entertainment thing that's a luxury. Like we don't need it like we need certain other things for the economy. So, you know, it's like I just want to stay ready. I want to be in shape. I want to, as soon as they say, hey, you are good to perform in front of audiences, I want to be ready to go. I've been pretty consistent, at least every day working out, if not a lot of 2 days, like probably 4 out of 5 days during the week. I do a 2 a day of some sorts, whether it's like cardio or if it's yoga or something like that to make myself feel better or to get, you know, stay in shape and burn calories and whatnot. I've been really, really staying on my stuff because I think it's something that, like, it's easy just to be like, screw it. I'll get in shape when it's ready, but like, I don't want to have to wait 90 days to be like good to go. Like I take a lot of pride in looking the part. And so I want to, you know, keep that going when the quarantine ends. And, you know, I want people to be like, damn, Royce Isaacs has presented his best package rather than just like, oh, well, okay. I guess he's getting back in shape.
Here's his keg that he got during quarantine, right? Instead of a 6-pack.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think also it helps just being like it's good to be like that mentally disciplined a little bit, you know, like to have a little bit of that in your life, even just outside of the general like looks of it and whatever. But you know, to each their own too. I'm not trying to throw shade at people who are like living their best life right now, eating pizza every day. Live your dreams. Don't let me fucking shit on that for you.
Right? That's, yeah. So are you getting ref fit or are you just doing your own thing?
Am I getting what?
Ref fit. Because there's an NWA official that is pushing ref fit on everybody. Jared Fritz, do you know him?
Oh, yeah, I've met this fellow before on numerous occasions and continue to work with him for some reason. Fritzy's great. I do my own thing. Me and Fritz have different plans, but I have a degree in kinesiology, so
wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know
me.
how to like program for myself, kind of, and like I know how to make my body respond. So I get pretty creative with my workouts, even though they're at home. Like I have a full set of bands in addition to the adjustable dumbbells as well. So like with the bands, you can hit a lot of the other smaller muscles. As long as you have something to kind of anchor it or attach it to, you can do a lot of cool stuff. You know, even like isolation kind of lifts and whatever.
Yep. And
then obviously you have body weight movements and all that kind of stuff. I have a pull-up bar. It's like, I have enough. By the end of this thing, I'm going to be real bored of my home gym because it still ain't quite the same. You know what I mean? Like doing 500 freaking Hindu squats to get a leg workout in or whatever is like not, you know, like that's not an ideal, like, oh, hell yeah. Like, it's just still not the same as like getting real heavy and like on the squat rack, you know?
Yeah.
And like hitting like a set of 3 or whatever with a million plates. So, man, I'm ready to
hit the gym.
I'm ready to hit a gym. I just got like a nostalgia boner for the gym right there. Like you heard it in my voice.
I did. You actually hit puberty all over again. That's awesome.
All over again. I was like putting the weights on the plates.
Nice. All right, let's do our rewind real quick because there's a lot of NWA stuff that you know in the second half that we're going to talk about. But who introduced you to wrestling? Was it a dad, grandpa, sister, or an aunt? I mean, how did you find this crazy sport when you were growing up?
100% my dad. He's actually still such a huge fan. He's at, I'm not going to expose who he is, but if you watch Power, he's in the crowd, and he's definitely like been on camera numerous times. We're at the pay-per-views and whatever. He goes to, he lives near Atlanta, so he goes to
everything,
all the NWA tapings and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, he's my biggest fan, my biggest supporter kind of thing. And so we got into it watching it as a kid. And I'm 31, so like that was really like the prime era for like, you know, when I'm 8 years old, that's 1997, like started the Attitude Era. So it's like I wrestling was like the shit when I started like, you know, watching wrestling seriously.
Yeah. So some of your favorites, real quick, Stone Cold, The Rock, all those, right? But who was an oddball favorite? No. Oh, wow.
No, I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, duh, of course, like, the Stone Cold and The Rock,
oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's just, like, you can't help it. But, yeah, the Dark Horse pick, see, that's the thing, though, is, like, you can go down the roster when it comes to the Attitude Era, and it's, like...
There's no Dark Horse.
Yeah, you right, you could, like, be like, oh, Ken Shamrock, but it's, like, he's a multiple-time Intercontinental Champion, like, he had, like, a really good run, he had a really unique, like... I don't even consider, that's hard to like consider that dark horse. He's like, to me, he's like a dark horse for like the Hall of Fame, but you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't call Ken Shamrock a dark horse. I don't like, you know, like everyone was dope. Steve Blackman was freaking dope.
Yes.
Like, D'Lo Brown was dope. Like everyone had a character, storyline stuff, and everyone shined. Like there was just like a lot of really charismatic talent that knew how to do a TV wrestling show at that point. And people can be like, oh, you're romanticizing the Attitude Era. But it's like, whatever, man. Like, complain about this, that, or whatever. Like, oh, the work rate isn't the same. It's just different. It's not, like, worse. Like, you can either complain about, oh, like, they're, you know, rushing their moves from one thing to another and fairly basic compared to today, just as much as you can bitch about, like, they do a million destroyers and fall season. So, you know, like, but
exactly.
They're just different. This is different. It's not like neither one's better. I participate in both, and I enjoy both. Like they can both be done well or done shitty.
That's a great point. That really is. What was your deciding factor to get into wrestling? Like once you watched it, were you all in, or you're like, maybe?
It was always in the back of my mind, and it was something that I really wanted to do. And I was in the real world, like working real jobs, like. A personal trainer, like a fitness manager. I worked in retirement home sales. Like I was doing well at these jobs, but I just like something didn't really connect with me. Like I was missing something, and I thought wrestling could be that thing. I just happened to see a show in Denver, like an indie show that my friend's girlfriend had found out about, and like as soon as I saw it live on a local scale, like I'd been to like Raws and whatever, but that's a little different. This just seemed like, oh, like, yeah, I could definitely participate in this. And then as soon as I started training the next week after I went to that show, I was like, I need to make this my job ASAP. It went from like, oh, like this could be like a cool thing and I'd like to try it, to like, all right, this is like my life now. Like, I was like, yep, this is what I want to do. It's just, there's something about both the competition and the performing, but also like it's just like the total package, like in terms of entertainment, and I like the drama and the artistry to it as well.
The pageantry,
like not just,
yeah,
and but like also like not just performing in it and all that kind of stuff. But like when you come down to like the art of how to draw an effect out of a crowd, like you want to get booed or you want to get cheered or you want to make them hate you or love you, like whatever it is, or creating this drama where they care so much about the babyface, you know, or whatever, and like heightening that drama with small, subtle things. Like, I think there's like a real art to this, other than just like I love moves. I'm like all about moves, Daddy. Like I got into wrestling to be able to hit moves. We all love hitting moves, but like you can't just hit moves. Like finding ways to like maximize all that kind of stuff and like manipulate a crowd. Like I think the art of it is phenomenal. It's really, I don't know, it's the best thing in the world to me.
Trust me, I completely agree with everything you said. It's the best thing in the world to me to watch you do the best thing in the world, because I am aptly named. My name is Mark, and I am a huge Mark because I love you guys. I really do. Everything about one, the NWA is the Can Crusher's favorite thing going on right now. Well, besides the pause in life, but it's just amazing. It really is.
Oh yeah. Glad to hear it.
Early in your career, because you're going on about 6-7 years right now.
It's like 6 years almost exactly to the day of when I started training, and like last week would have been when I went to the indie show in Colorado, kind of thing.
Okay.
2014.
Early on, though, you got to make a couple trips to Japan. How so early? I mean, there's people that have been in the business 20, 30 years have never gotten over to Japan. How'd you get there that quick? Was it just like, screw it, I'm buying a ticket and going, and whatever happens?
No, I mean, Japan had always been a goal, especially like it was like a life goal before I even really knew that there was wrestling over there. I always was into Japanese culture. I always liked like Japanese movies and pop culture stuff, all their media and whatnot. I was always into Japan. So when I knew that when I found out there was wrestling over there, I was like, obviously that's something I'd be interested in. And then when I watched it, I was like, this is the best pro wrestling in the world kind of thing. You know, like, wow, this, you know, when you look at some of those guys that were coming up in the early thousands, like Noah and like, you know, like all the big, like Misawa and Kobashi, and like those guys are some of the best wrestlers of all time. It's like, it's really enthralling. You know, you want to be part of that. And so at one point I reached out to like just all the Japanese companies just to see, like, why not? Like, they could be interested. If they respond, great. If they don't, then whatever. No one really responded except for DDT. And I kept talking to them. They didn't say yes at first. They were kind of, they had their spots filled, and then someone got injured. So they kind of offered me like, hey, like, we have this tournament coming up. If you can, you know, if you'd like to be part of it. It was part of their DNA. Like, it was their, DDT has a bunch of companies still, but DNA was kind of like almost their young boys.
Yeah.
And so I was part of that first. I did a tournament, and I earned my way back and did another couple trips. I mean, I was only a couple of years in. Like, I was about, I guess, like 2.5 years in, 3 years in, when I started going to Japan, which is very early. But like, I think I also, since I started when I was 25, I was already like a full, like, I was in my athletic prime. I was already in shape. I just needed to learn how to actually wrestle and how to do all this stuff. Yeah. And I was lucky enough to make some really good connections too, and have some people, you know, like what they saw. And I mean, I've gotten to do the stuff with the NWA has been amazing, and like winning the tag belts with Tom and all that. But you know, like that's like my crowning achievement. But on my way to that, I did get to do some really cool stuff along the, like, I got to do my tours of Japan. I did a few trips to Mexico and like wrestle in Arena, Mexico and stuff like that. So it's like I got to check off some of those like bucket lists. Like, I really want to, you know, do that before I retire, before I, you know, am, you know, whatever, past my prime or whatever. So I got to kind of experience that journeyman lifestyle for a little bit. I haven't gotten over to Europe yet, but that's one place I'd really, really like to go to next, because traveling internationally is one of the best parts for sure of wrestling. Oh, for that,
you actually read my next question. Where's the next spot that you would like to go? But Europe, huh?
Yeah, Europe. Like, whether like the UK obviously has a really banging scene for sure, But like also, I mean, like Germany has WXW, which is killing it. They seem to have just like a never-ending group of really, really great workers. I know my boy Russ Taylor's finally over there. He's tremendous in the ring, and he deserves all the accolades he can get. So hopefully he can keep going back there for WXW and killing it.
So when you walked to Kurikan Hall for the very first time, I know what Al Snow said as we talked off air a little bit. He said it's unbelievable. Expand on that. Or did you say, wow, this place is a dump? What have I been looking into all the time?
No, absolutely not. No, it was,
right, I know.
It was unbelievable, absolutely. You know, it's like just like the feeling of being in that place, like if you want to call it like the spirits or whatever, or it's like the aura, vibe, whatever word you want to use, is kind of like none other. And just also when you're in there and you're performing and you see, it's like this weird out of body thing where you're seeing all this stuff from a different perspective than you're used to seeing it. If you watch Japanese wrestling, if you watch shows at Korakuen Hall, you've seen it so many times. Even like before when I was casually following Japanese wrestling, you'd see Korakuen Hall and you'd see these clips and whatever. Like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, like that's, you know, this place, you wouldn't really think of it. And then when you realize where it is and how much like history, as you like start to become like more of a fanatic about it, and then before you know it, you're over there performing. It's like weird that you're like in the first person perspective looking out at these stands out there that you've seen for whatever now, like, you know, 10 plus years of watching some of the best wrestlers in the world do it here. All of a sudden it's like, oh wow, like there's just like so much, like you feel like there are spirits there that are like, you know, like you have that energy from the people that have performed there in the past. It's like none other.
That's cool. That's cool. Someday I want to watch a show there because I'm a 43-year-old balding fat man doing a podcast talking to you, living my dream talking to you. So I'll get there and watch you someday. Promise.
Dude, no, I think that's a good idea. Like definitely, you know, the trip to Japan is expensive, obviously, but
right? If
you plan it out in advance and you can kind of shop for deals, you could probably get it done for a reasonable amount. But like, just, you know, save up and get when the getting's good and all that kind of stuff. Because I think I'm way into Japan. I think you would love it over there. I think you'd love going to a show over there. But you gotta get that for yourself, you know.
Right. All right, let's take a break from wrestling and ask you the stupid questions that we like to just throw you off kilter with. What's the worst job you've ever had? Mine, I sold graves.
Graves?
Graves, cemetery plots. It's unbelievable. It's horrible.
God, worst job. You know, out of everything, it's not like a fun story or like a sexy, like, oh, haha, like I had to pick up poop with my bare hands. But when I was a loan rep in downtown Denver for a bank, I had to deal with all these loan officers that were just like, they wouldn't even treat you like you were like a human, basically. Like it was just like one of those things where it's like they would just plop shit on your desk and just kind of like, they don't even know how to do it. They just want you to figure it out because it's a nuisance to them or whatever. Like, just dealing with that all day. Like I remember I was working there and I had just gotten my invitation to do Japan and to do my WWE tryout. So this is the end of 2016. And I was like, I used the last of my PTO on the WWE tryout. And then the day I came back from it, I was like, okay, so I don't have any PTO, and in 3 weeks I leave for Japan. And I was just like, I could like definitely beg for my job. I could like definitely beg for my job, and they'll let me keep it. Like 100%, they'll hold it over my head forever. And I remember I was just like, nope. And I just talked to my boss. And I was like, look, I'm giving you my 3 weeks notice. I was like, I'd rather just not even beg for my job. Like it just took the stress off the table. I was like, I'll figure it out. When I get home, I am going to figure out my entire life. But until then, I'm just going to go ahead and like live out my dreams in Japan. And honestly, it was the best. Like, it's one of those things. There's an old, they talk about Portuguese pirates would capsize their rescue ships before they would go out to like plunder and stuff like that, because they were like, there's no option other than to go forward than to like, win. You know what I mean? Like we have to loot this
You
ship.
have to go. Yeah.
If we don't win, we're not getting back to where we need to be. So it's like same kind of thing. I was just like, well, I'm gonna go to Japan. Hopefully I kill it with DDT, and I was lucky enough that they liked what they saw, so they brought me back for a couple more tours, and that's when I started, like, I was Uber driving for a while just so I could, like, make my own schedule. That way I was like, I don't have to worry about PTO anymore, even though, Uber's a whole nother, can of worms, and I was glad when I was able to stop doing that as well. But I think still being the bitch of the loan officers was the worst.
It's just petty work the whole time. Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah, and more so than that, even, it's just like, yeah, it's a lot of petty work, but, like, while you're doing it, you're going to get the way you're treated. Like, just like the way, like, you're just, like, not even, like, like an adult human being. It's like, fuck you.
Right.
last night, it's like last week I was, performing for a crowd out of town. Like, what were you doing? Like, great, you have a degree in business, and you're giving out, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in loans. Congratulations, that's great, but, like, you're not, like, a different level of human than me. Like, we just have different passions.
Right.
You could not be a dick.
Right.
Anyways,
that's
whatever.
great. I love that.
Not trying to get too deep into my psyche there, but
I think I just did. Oh my God.
Whoops.
What do you nerd out about? Are you a video game guy? Clearly you like Japanese things, but let's put that to the side. What's your nerd out stuff?
Honestly, like true crime, serial killer kind of shit.
Yeah,
is generally the stuff that I like really nerd out for.
That's
I know
what
that's like
saw.
a popular thing now, but like I was even like in high school, like that was my shit. Like that's what I would always get off on and be interested in and whatever. Like it's interesting. It's interesting to study. It's fun to look at that side of like humanity, and obviously you don't want to like glorify the people that were terrible people, but it's interesting to study them and to see what made them tick and what made them, because usually they're not that different than you and me. So it's like, what was the small difference that made them, you know?
My wife and you would get along perfectly because we had to change our whole TV package so she could get the ID channel because that's all she watches. That's it. Boom. She loves that crazy ass shit. I agree.
Yes.
If you were a sandwich, this is actually one that we have all the time. If you were a sandwich, what kind of sandwich would you be?
I feel like a flatbread with double meat.
Double meat. I get it. All right, let's switch back into wrestling because now we're going to go down to Pornhub or something. I don't know. The NWA. What I remember, the NWA, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, the Rock and Roll Express, which are still there. That's my past. That's my childhood. How is it now that it's fun, exciting? You guys do the nod on the old, but you guys have that different twist. How are you honored to work for the NWA? Because we put it, myself and the other guys here on Can Crushers, put it in that same spot because what Billy is doing didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, I think we have a really good mixture of like old school and new school, and I think that's when it gets interesting is when you have something that you're like, yeah, like this is familiar, that has that nostalgia feel, but it's also like a new twist. It's original, it's exciting. So I think it's done a really good job of mixing, some of that old school NWA feel and even some of the old school NWA talent, and then people that are, newer and fresh blood and fresh talent and stuff like that, and giving them the creative license to, make it their own. So I think it's been really a new, fresh mix and a real alternative.
You've been in the ring with people now in AEW, now in MLW, and we're just going to stay with, let's call those the territories, and ROH as well. I know you're not in Billy's head or, Court Bauer's head or anything. Would there ever be a super show? Wouldn't that blow everything up right now? I mean, there's talks legit all over the internet that something's going to happen. Can you fill us in on anything?
Oh, I mean, that would be really cool. I don't know about any plans for that, but obviously I think that one way a lot of us independents could, continue to grow and compete is with stuff like that. Like, obviously, I think NWA kind of had a recent blueprint for that with the stuff that we've done with Ring of Honor has been really good and been received really well. And I loved it. I wanted to keep going with it. It's something that I'm like, yeah, definitely let's, it seems like it's good for both sides. So I think the more, like, if we can get more and more of the other major companies on collaborating, like, I don't think there's literally any negative side to that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's one of those things that's hard to figure out because you have to figure out how to make sure that everyone's happy. Like it's a good ending that, like, no one, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just like, all right, sweet, we're just going to come in and beat all your guys. See you later. Like, it has to be a mutually beneficial thing.
Yeah.
And that's always the toughest thing is figuring out how to work that. But, like, I'm into it. I think it's fresh. I think it's exciting. I think it's best business for everyone. But yeah, I'm just me. So who cares, right?
We were going to be at, and you were going to be at the Crockett Cup a few weeks ago. Actually, last weekend as we're taping this. But we were going to be down there. We talked to Fritzy, as we said earlier, and it's hopeful that this can still go on. That's where you and Tom tagged for the first time in your career, more or less. You guys made it to the semifinals. One, what could we expect from you and Tom at the Crockett Cup when it does happen? Because wholeheartedly I'm hoping it does. I want to come down to Georgia. And two, how much of a letdown that this was you guys' biggest pay-per-view of the year. How much of a letdown did that hit the locker room a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely tough. We were finally going to venture outside of the GBB studios and do a show in front of, even more fans this time and in a new arena for wrestling. It was, like, really cool. I was excited for it. I thought it was going to be really good. Like, obviously me and Tom are, one of the heavily featured, acts, and we thought it was like, it's a tag event. Obviously this is one of our times to shine. So it sucks that we wouldn't have that opportunity, especially last year. We actually got to the finals and then lost to Bill and Enterprises.
Right.
But it's like that's, to me, it's like we got in the finals last year. I would have thought that we would have had a really good shot at winning it this year. So it's a huge letdown. But at the end of the day, it's like, I just hope that, we can get back on track and get back to stuff. I know that the original plan is not to go immediately back to Crockett Cup. So it might not be until 2021 that Crockett Cup happens again. But, I mean, you never know. Like, shit happens every day. Things change. So, that might not be accurate. Like, I'm not,
I'm not holding you to anything. No. Yeah, I'm going to come down. Yeah. I'm going to come over, L.A. and just beat you up because you said that. No, that's okay.
Please do.
This is a long-winded one because this is from the English professor, as we call him. Strictly Business is, well-dressed technical wrestlers, your champion, a great dominant tag team of you and Tom. I mean, there's similarities there between you and the Horsemen. How do you guys differ, though, from the Horsemen? And don't say because there's 4 and 3 because that's the cop-out.
No, I mean, we are 4. You can't forget,
That's my bad. Camille. Yep.
Camille might just be our MVP. Like, when you really think about stuff, like, Camille's been one of the most, dominant presences, like, even before wrestling, before speaking, through the 10 Pounds of Gold series. She's just been such a big personality at the NWA. So, first of all, we are 4 and 4. But, like, for me, I don't think it's fair for me to compare ourselves in any way, or even to say, like, this is the differences between us and the Horsemen. It's not something that I'm interested in comparing myself to, because I'd rather that comes from you, or that comes from the professor, or someone else goes, there are similarities between this legendary faction and Strictly Business. Like, we're just trying to be the best Strictly Business. And there's obviously some similarities and whatnot, and that's not exactly accidental, but at the same time, we are trying to carve out our own niche. We're trying to do a new thing. It's not like, like we're going out there and copying, spots, move for move and stuff like that. It's like, I'll leave the comparisons and all that kind of stuff to people. Like, I think people like you are qualified because, you know, you're fans of the sport, you watch it, you see it. If that's what you see, then great. But I feel it's like weird to me to like be the one that's like, hey, this is how I feel. We're, you know, similar or different or whatever. You know, that's not, I guess, where I don't think any of us creatively are like at that point. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to, like
right.
Nick's trying to carve out his own path. Me and Tom are trying to do our own thing and be different. I think, you know, Camille's really on the, like, just starting something special. She just had her first speaking segment, and like she's been blowing up the internet. She's doing her thing. Like, I don't know. We are similar, but we do our thing. You know.
Great answer. The last Power we saw before everything happened, you know, you saw you kind of doing your own thing. You know, Tom and Camille off doing their own thing. You have Mae Valentine as your girlfriend. Can't she have a best friend? I mean, why are you hating so much on Sal?
Yeah, no, she can definitely have a best friend, but it's just not going to be the dude that I met when he called me the wrong name and then insulted me on commentary, and I told him to stay away from me, and then she kept just hanging out with him. Like, that's, like, you could literally pick anyone else. Like, I'll trust you around, you know, Zicky Dice. I'll trust you around Ricky Starks, but it's not going to be punk-ass Sal Renaro, who's, like, just getting, like, that little extra close. You know, this is what's crazy is, like, you know, it's like I'm looked at as, like, this negative guy, or, like, I have some kind of, like, issues or whatever, but I hope everyone is real trusting then. Everyone that says that is really trusting of their partner. They're not going through their texts or nothing. They're not looking over their shoulder and seeing who they're, you know, calling at night and whatever. Like, you're not looking through their apps, right? Because you just trust your person, right? Like, you're like,
I do.
No, my right, okay, good. It's fine. If that's how you feel, then cool, you can criticize. But, like, a lot of people, I'm like, it seems a little hypocritical on your part.
It seems I'm actually on board with you. It seems a little bit funny. It does seem a little bit funny.
A man of reason.
Right. I trust my partner, and I bet you trust Mae. It's Sal that's the one that's what is it? The
issue.
Yeah, well, the issue, but there's a saying, the wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, yes, my man. There you go. You said it.
Yeah. So, all right, a few more questions because I know you have a leg workout to do or whatever. Hey, I see him every day on Facebook.
My man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
These ones might grind your gears a little bit. If you only had to pick one partner the rest of your life, would it be Latimer or would it be Nelson from 1%?
Oh, I'm pleading the fifth on that. You can't make me choose it.
Come on!
Absolutely unfair. Strike it from the record. My client would like to exercise his right. There's no way. There's no way. I love teaming with Tommy, and we've done some amazing stuff. But man, I talk to Jarrell every day too. It's like, you know, like these are like two of my best friends. So that's like an unfair thing to even, you know.
That's why I brought it up.
Like, go into that.
I wanted to see what you
said. Yeah,
say.
I know you were trying to get under my skin. It worked. Yeah. There you
go. We always ask these questions to wrap it up, Royce. If you could give advice to the little kid in the audience that loves Strictly Business, and he comes up to you and says, Mr. Isaacs, I love you. Can you give me advice to get into professional wrestling? What do you tell him?
I'd be like, all right, the best advice, if you want to get into professional wrestling, what you do is you go over to your mother and you say, I need $20, and you come back and I'll give you a small Wild Cards t-shirt. And you're pretty much like 3/4 of the way there already. So, you know, go get to talking to your mom.
What if you wanted the Funko Pop Royce Isaacs shirt? Would you tell him that?
Oh man, that's a deep dig there.
What?
That was like my second ever shirt that I came out with. I think I only have like 1 or 2 of them left somewhere. I'd have to find them, but
that's shocking.
If they really want that, I can get that for them, I suppose.
Nice.
It might have to be like a large though, you know, like I don't think I have like a small of that left anymore.
No, I bet those sold out quick. That was fast. Whew. This could be with Latimer and Nelson, or it could be solo. What's your dream match? There's a 3-part to this, though. Who, where, and what's the stipulation?
I'm gonna answer it 3 ways.
Okay, then.
The singles match, it would be me versus Tetsuya Endo for the DDT championship, like an Iron Man match, an hour in Crockwin Hall. If it was a tag with Tommy, it would be against the OG Club in a ladder match. And if it was me and Jarrell, Relly, if you will, me and him versus the Revival, I guess the Revolt, now they're whatever they're called.
Yeah.
In a cage match.
Nice.
Boom.
Nice. Look at that. Boom.
There we go. Fully fantasy booked, my friends. Full fantasy booking.
You answered that faster than anybody else on this podcast ever, and you answered 3. Other people don't know where the hell they want it to be. They don't know what stipulation did it. So you kind of did your homework on us then, apparently. I don't know. I'm just saying that.
Dude, I'm just a man that knows what he wants.
Right. All right. Shout out your social medias so you can get maybe 1 or 2 more followers because you have 50 million on everything already. But give everybody your social medias.
Yeah, at Royce Isaacs on Instagram, at Royce Isaacs on Twitter. I don't have a PWTs, but I have pictures of all my stuff. So DM me if you want a shirt, if you want to support. If not, I just appreciate you taking the time to listen, especially during a crazy time like this. And hopefully you enjoyed it.
And you pretty much did it already, but any last words to anybody out there? Maybe pick a fight with somebody, throw Fritzy underneath the bus, anything. It'd be great.
Fritzy, my message to you is stay safe in this time. I love you, buddy. Everyone else, remember to salt your pasta when you're boiling it. And, I don't know, man, just stay safe, stay entertained, watch The Wire.
All right, Royce. All right, go get your workout in for the night. Thank you very much for coming on Can Crushers.
Dude, so much fun. Thanks for having me on. We'll have to do it again sometime.
For sure. So I thought I could get Royce to pick a partner. And I guess that was the question I was going in, thinking, man, he's going to pick Thomas Latimer. Or he's going to pick Nelson, whatever. And he just tiptoed around the whole thing. Man, one of these days, I'm going to get him to answer that, and I'm going to get him to answer it wholeheartedly. Guys, this was a great interview. I loved every minute of it. We pulled some punches at each other, but I agree with him. Sal, just watch out for Sal. He's like I said, a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't know. Mae, you know what you got, Mae. You know what you got in Royce. You should stand by your man. Stand by your man. He's going to do you good. All right, let's wrap this show up, guys. You can hear us everywhere. You know, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, anywhere that you listen to podcasts, we're out there. We're there. You can head over to our website at cancrusher69.wixsite.com/cancrushers. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All the handles are at CanCrusher69. You want to send us an email saying, hey, Mark, you're an idiot. Sal's a better man than Royce. I will fight with you, and then I'll call Royce back up, and we'll both fight with you. But if you want to send that email, it's cancrusher69@gmail.com. So, hey, or reach out to us and say, hey, why don't you get Sal on the show so he can kind of do a rebuttal? And we'll reach out to Sal and say, Sal, this is what Royce had to say. We like stirring the pot. We do. But, as we always say, remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called the garbage can, not a garbage cannot.